Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, David. I appreciate being invited back here to the Timing Research webinar again. Always a pleasure. All right, so today the topic is psychological and discipline. So this is one of my favorite topics, and the reason why it's one of my favorite topics is because until I figured this stuff out, nothing was happening for me. It's like the old parable of Sisyphus, right? You'd roll the stone up the hill and then eventually you'd roll it back down again. And then you just roll it, the cycle kept on going. And it wasn't until I figured out the whole psychological and discipline thing that I was able to get the stone over the top of the hill. Okay, so for those of you that don't know who I am, again, my name is Doc Severson. I've been individual trader and performance coach since 2005. That's when I quit my six-figure job at a three-letter acronym telecommunications company and said, hey, this is what I want to do for a living. And I've been doing that ever since. And shortly after I was trading out there by myself, I realized a couple of things. First of all, it's the original work from home job. And it's very, very isolating after basically having my social life be at the office for all of those years. And all of a sudden it's just me and the dog. And then what I found was that people started knocking on my door and saying, hey, could you teach me what you did? And I'm like, sure. So pretty soon I had to, that created a service for this just because I had so many people lining up the door. So the current services that I have right now, ReadySet.trade and ReadySetCrypto.com. So we've had these going for a number of years. You may have heard of me at sites like OptionsMD or maybe TradeOutLoud or Doc's Trading Tools or the original options linebacker service. And my specialties are fractal price analysis, options and futures strategies, as well as the trading mindset. And through the years, what I've done is when there's a topic that I'm particularly excited about, what I'll end up doing is writing a book. Like the recent book came out just about 2 years ago, is Fractal Energy Trading. It came out right at the beginning of the pandemic. So fortunately, I was able to get it written before everything shut down. And one book that actually I came out a few years ago is called Hacking the Holy Grail. And this is all about the mental and discipline ends of trading. So just a quick book looking at that stuff. If you're curious, you can find these on Amazon.com. Just search under Doc Severson if you're curious. Okay, so what am I going to do today? What is my purpose over the next hour? I've been trading the live market since 2004. I've made every single mistake that you can possibly make out there. Hopefully I've learned from them. I'm sure I've got some mistakes in me yet to come, and I'll learn from those as well too. So to me, the journey that retail traders take, there's a very fine path. There's a very single file path that you have to take to get to success in there. And I don't think it really changes for most people unless they're born with it. So you've got to follow this very narrow path along the way. And at any point you can get derailed. And what I want to show you today is kind of the path that you have to go on. I want to help you understand why you've been your own worst enemy when it comes to your trading performance and what you can do today to start to fix it. Okay, so there we go. Let me start, and this is just my old engineering roots shining through, but I always start out with a problem statement. Usually when we go to do something, it's usually because it's not perfect to begin with, so we try to fix it. So let's talk about what the problem is. The problem is we're all trying to solve is to improve our financial performance. Everybody here is trying to do that. So the challenges that you encounter depend on where you are in your progression to mastery. Now there's a gent named Bo Yoder, and I borrowed this off of him a number of years ago. I first encountered this probably 15 years ago. And he talks about this progression that everybody goes through from absolute rank beginner all the way up to master. And it follows several stages. And I always resonated with this. And I thought that this was a really cool way to put it. So with his permission, here is the work that he has done. The first stage is called mystification. Everybody starts here. You're brand new, you don't know how markets work, and you view trading as fun and exciting. More than likely, you joined in during the end of a bull market. So you're unconsciously incompetent. success comes easily and making money seems simple because everything just goes from the lower left to the upper right. You're sizing a Lambo for your garage. You go all in with everything you have and you get crushed when the markets turn. Actually, it's not really funny because I see a lot of people that are on Reddit, like Wall Street Bets, subreddit, and I just see story after story, which is so similar to this. And it breaks my heart to see this, but the cycle continues. Like I said, there's a very narrow path to success and everybody seems to follow the same one. So from mystification, after you get, let's say, a little bit of market experience, you get into what's called the hot pot stage. You got crushed, but you're hooked. You start to define your approach and learn how markets move. You wait for your setup, but like touching a hot pot on the stove, you get burned every time you enter and you start getting timid. Pretty soon you start to say, well, every time I enter, I'm going to lose. You decided the problem is the strategy and not you. So you keep trying different strategies with the same result. And this is kind of where I see a lot of people will, maybe they'll follow a guru or sign up for a program and they learn the material. They take maybe a couple of trades and for whatever reason, they just don't work out. The trades just don't work out. Both of them are losers. And so what you see is over here, you see some other bright, shiny penny being put out by somebody else. And it seems like they've got the goods. And so you go thundering over here, sign up for this program, learn the material, take a couple of trades, and then those don't work out either. And you don't have any sense of confidence. And then you see something over here. Hey, maybe this is it. Maybe I can build on what I've learned at the other two guys and learn this thing over here. So the same thing happens. And pretty soon, it's not long before you're right back to where you started. You've burned a bunch of money on tuition. You burned a bunch of money on losses, and you're getting kind of soured, right? So everybody goes through this. Everybody is looking for the holy grail of trading. And I've got my own thoughts on that. Okay, so that's the second stage. Now, with a little bit more experience, you get into the cynical skepticism trade. Every time you enter a trade, you lose. And so you joke to your friends that they should take the other side of your trades. How many people have said that before? Just about everybody. So you're convinced that it's somebody else's fault, right? It's the Fed's fault. It's the market makers. It's the brokers. It's the gurus. It's HFT. It's whatever, right? It's the excuse du jour. Some never exit this stage and they quit. And when they quit, man, you hear about it for months, right? They're telling everybody at parties, oh, it's a scam. The deck is stacked against you. You can't make any money in the markets. And you're trying to tell everybody about this because you're trying to justify your own failure. There's a reason why you're stuck in this stage, right? So all of this is just part of the progression that you have to go through. And if you're able to exit that stage, if you don't quit, you get into what's called the squiggle trader stage. And I see a lot of retail traders do this. Their charts look like spaghetti, right? It's like you can barely see the candles on the chart, but they've got every indicator known to man, buried in the lower half of their charts. I mean, they've got everything on there. So if one study is good, then 8 of them must be better, right? So everybody goes through this phase. Everybody's like, oh, if I could just add that one more study, then I'll be profitable. So what happens is you end up becoming paralyzed, right? Analysis paralysis, and this is scared money in action. Quite honestly, this is the stage that I find the majority of traders stuck in, is they're just trying to find themselves. And they think that by adding more, they're adding more value, they're adding more. And man, these guys are smart too. I mean, it's like on social media, you can engage with them and they're just smart as a tack. They know everything about anything, but they're not making any money. That's the problem. And it's all upstairs. It's all up in your head still. This is the squiggle trader stage. And again, this is where I see most experienced traders get stuck into this. And, they're just forever cycling through a list of studies and strategies. Now, here's where things get interesting. If you're able to escape that, what you'll eventually figure out is that the problem is you. Traders that survive all of the stages, if you don't blow all your capital and if you still have support from your spouse, you have a chance to become consistently profitable if you manage to graduate to this stage. The holy grail of trading is not some study or chart pattern or strategy. It's your ability to understand that trading edge starts with you and your ability to think differently from the rest of the investing herd. You have to think differently about risk. You have to think differently about profits and about what makes markets move. And you have to act differently than the herd. All of a sudden, if you start to put the focus on you instead of everything else that you can't control, you may have a chance to get consistently profitable in this inwardly bound stage. And from there, of course, there's mastery. This is where it's just simple, right? And these people, it's kind of like listening to Michael Burry. It's like you can't really understand anything that the guy says, right? Or some of these other super gurus that have been doing it for so long, they can't really put it into simple terms what it is that they know. They just feel it. It's mastery. This is the final stage. Trading's very easy at this level because the trades just come to them. They just sit there and patiently wait for something to come to them instead of shotgunning everything else around them. So that is the trader progression from Bo Yoder. And again, I think it's very, very useful. And a lot of people come up to me later and they say, hey, how did you know about the, well, I've been through all these stages. So this is why it resonates with me, because everybody goes through all of these. So a lot of people will come up and say, hey, I don't want to go through all that crap. I don't want to go through all those stages. I just want to go straight to mastery. I feel like I'm in mastery right now. Well, if you did, you wouldn't be talking to me, right? So a lot of people want to skip stages. Can you skip these? I have never seen anybody skip a stage due to the way that our brains think. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute. But I've seen exceptionally committed traders minimize their time in the earlier stages. So the sooner that you can get into the inwardly bound stage, the sooner that you'll be able to earn your fair share of profits out there. They're out there. They're waiting for you. You just have to make them flow through you. So let's see how we can do that with the 7 steps. Okay, so that's the problem we're still going to solve. And here's our 7 steps to better trading results. Here's starting with step numero uno. Okay, step 1 is you got to think differently about risk. So what is the first thing that comes to your mind when I say the word risk? For most people, it's a negative connotation, isn't it? Risk is bad. This is what we're taught. And oh, by the way, for those of you that have not seen this movie, this is called Free Solo with Alex Honnold. Came out maybe 3 years ago. It's a documentary. I think it's on most of the streaming services. Unbelievable. I went to go see this in the theater and I'm curled up into the fetal position watching this thing. I know how it ends, right? I know that the guy lives, and I still was absolutely just, stressed out watching this movie. It's incredible. A guy walking up the face of, out there in, I forget the name of the mountain that he's climbing, but it's just massive, right? It's 3,000 feet straight up. And he's doing it with just his hands and toes. Unbelievable. So anyway, let's talk about risk for a minute. We have to think differently for that. We need to think about risk being our friend and not a foe. It's just a tool. Risk is just a tool, something that we need to manage, not something to avoid. And we'll learn that taking the trades that feel bad means that we're trading against the crowd. And that's almost always a good thing. If there's a trade out there that feels really good to put on, chances are you're not going to win that. Also, when it comes to risk, think about this with insurance companies. Do insurance companies, do they deal in the product of risk? Absolutely they do. They take risk off of you and they make money by doing it. And essentially we can do the same thing with our business too. Okay, so we have to take, or we don't have to take the trades that feel good, right? The trades that feel good are probably ones that are not going to work with us. This almost always means that you're going with the crowd instead of thinking independently. The ones where you almost have to grab an air sickness bag are the ones that are more likely to work out for you. So I want you to think about that concept next time you take a trade. Does this feel good or does it feel bad? Does this feel suicidal? Chances are, if it does, it might work out for you. A lot of times I'll get people that call me up and say, hey, Doc, I want to get into trading, but I don't want to take any risk. So what's the most conservative thing that you can tell me about? What's the most conservative strategy is? And I'm like, certificate of deposit sounds perfect for you. So if you want zero risk, you get passbook savings account. And they say, well, wait, no, I want to make some money at this. I'm like, well, you have to risk it then. No risk it, no biscuit. More risk should lead to more reward if you can manage it. So a professional looks at risk as a tool and not something to run from. And this is why we eat like a bird and crap like an elephant. This is the common thing from retail traders is they'll take small profits and they take big losers. And the reason is because of irrationality. I just know it will reverse. How do you know that? How do you know what the future is going to hold? Well, the subreddit said it would bounce. Okay, so what do you know about this person that posted that? Are they an expert or they just represent themselves well online? Well, it's just a paper loss now. It's not an actual loss until they close the trade. Okay, true, but how's that working out for you? So this is what we all do. We eat like a bird, crap like an elephant, and it's one of your challenges is to reverse that. I would say you hear a lot about fear and greed in the markets. And I would say, I don't think it's so much greed. Greed to me comes with experience and you get hubris with that. So we focus on what we fear and what we focus on expands. If we focus on not losing, what do we get? We get losses. We fear that rallies will leave without us. This is FOMO. We fear that sellouts will destroy our account. This is fear of loss. Fear to me rules every retail investing decision. Forget about greed. It's all about fear. And so we trade not to lose. We trade not to lose. I get this question all the time. Hey, where should I exit so I can take a smaller loss? Think about a prevent defense. Think about football teams. Think about the Atlanta Falcons playing against the Patriots a few years ago in the Super Bowl. They get out to this big lead. I forget what the score was, but it was a given, right? They're going to coast into victory. They can walk backwards into a victory for the Super Bowl. And you all of a sudden you saw the mental shift happening. They started playing not to lose, and that's what killed them. So new retail traders don't trade to win, they trade not to lose. And I want you to think about that next time. Next time you take a position, how can you start to mentally shift your mindset to trade to win instead of trading not to lose? So we all feel that risk is bad, right? Risk is bad. And we've been taught this since we were little kids. Johnny, don't go across the street. You might get hit by a car. Something bad may happen. That sounds risky. I don't like that girl. She looks risky, right? So everything by your parents is to try to teach safety. And this happened, that's a risky career. And so we're inundated from the day that we're born until we're adults and we start thinking for ourselves that risk is a bad thing. So we come to trading with the same attitude and we wonder why we get our ass kicked because we're thinking differently. This is one more thing that we have to think about is we got to let go of that whole risk is bad thing. And we have to start using risk as a tool. And so this is why I'm saying you have to think differently about risk. This is step number one. Okay, onward. Here we go. Step number two, we have to specialize and focus. So one of the first things that people learn about investing is, well, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, right? So everybody's used to that same, Warren Buffett kind of thing, like you must diversify. And everybody knows you need X% of stocks and X% of bonds and fixed income interests and cash and things like that. So we've been teaching the same crap forever, right? So why doesn't everybody do it? Why doesn't it work? Because we learned different ways to invest now with a different market. All of the messages out there tell you to diversify. This makes you a jack of all trades and a master of none. Now, your competition are professionals. They will typically specialize in one form of trading, one instrument, one time frame, perhaps one time of day. I was amazed when I saw the S&P 500 pit in the CBOE, and dudes would stand there all day long in their 1 square foot of real estate and stand there all day and just basically trade one option or one cycle, one series. Very, very specialized. They are patiently waiting for the herd to make a mistake and overcommit to an obvious move. Even when I did the market making thing, it's basically you're sitting on just a very small number of underlyings on one strike and waiting for retail to make a mistake and then pounce on that. And that's how you make a living. Your competition's professionals. Now, you, on the other hand, you're all over the place. You're not focused. You got dozens of things going on at the same time. You're trying to work a job. You have young kids. You're trying to maintain personal relationships. And you've got 10 studies on your chart and wondering if you should add more. You're hoping that your winners will compensate for the losers. And you wonder why your competition is winning. So what I would say is focus. There is a great, great scene from a really cool movie, which is sort of fallen off the radar lately. And this must have come out maybe 30 years ago. And it's called City Slickers. It's with Billy Crystal. And there's this character in there who's the toughest guy on the planet, whose name is Jack Palance, or Curly. And so Billy Crystal's fascinated by this guy. And he goes, what's the secret to life? And Jack Palance in this scene holds up his one finger and says, one thing, just that one thing. That's what you got to figure out. And on from there, right? So what I would do is go into YouTube and search on Curly's Law. And I think that will make more sense to you if you learn that, because this made such an impact on me when I saw this. I was like, wow, that's what I need to do, because I was struggling at the time when I was a relatively new trader, was going through the stages myself, and I was having the same problems. And I'm like, you know what? I decided to sweep my desk off and say, I'm going to trade one underlying, one chart, one strategy. That's all I'm going to follow. And in this case, by example, it was the S&P 500. I traded iron condors. And what I found is in a very short period of time, you can get really, really good at something if you focus. So instead of scattering yourself all over the place, you do one thing, and you do one thing really, really well. You can become an expert on that in literally no time. And then all of a sudden your results will follow. People will start to take notice and say, what are you doing that's so good with that? It's because of the focus. So find your one thing. This is probably the best piece of advice that I give people. Is most people that come to me with performance problems are usually trying to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. So finding your one thing is a very internal process. It will help you get there much, much faster. Probably the best thing that you can do starting today. Okay, specialize and focus is step 2. Now we get to step 3. What is your edge? You can't just trade without some kind of an edge. Otherwise, you're just, over time, everything averages out. So what is your edge against the rest of the market? Think about this for a second. I mean, you're up against the best in the world. What is your edge? Now, the best edge of all is being on the other side of the trade from the investing herd. So that's the first thing that you have to do. And this is why people that follow things like Wall Street bets are immediately on the wrong side. They're part of the herd. From day one, they're part of the herd and wondering why there's so much loss porn in their accounts. This is the most difficult place to be. It may take you years to learn how to do this until somebody finally grabs you, shakes you by the shoulders and says, stop trading with the herd. The best edge of all is to go against them. Doesn't feel comfortable. Remember what I said about the best trades that you can do feel the worst to take. So now you need a system edge. This is the combination of method. This is an Alexander Elder thing: method, mindset, and money management. Like the three legs of a step stool, right? You've got to have all three of them. They've got to be equal. Otherwise, the whole thing falls over. If you've got these three in equal proportion, and it may just give you an edge against the rest of the market if you specialize in it. And chart studies are not enough, guys. So a mistaken perception is that a typical chart study like stochastics, MACDs, moving averages, etc., gives you an edge. They're just lagging indicators of price behavior. It is not an edge. It's just part of a system. It's just lines on a chart. You have to have an edge versus the crowd. Your competitive edge, when the crowd goes one way, what is your edge to go to either move with or against the crowd? Trend trading and time decay are two standard edges, right? If we're just trading with the trend is your friend until it ends, right? We can do that kind of thing, especially if we buy in a pullback. Time decay is out there, right? We sell options, we get that time decay, which is great. We can become the insurance company. These are two standard edges, but they're not good enough by themselves. Being on the other side of a panicked herd is surely the strongest edge of all, as many are finding out now from the last couple of months. Winners and losers, don't think of it as personal combat. A lot of people get really screwed up by this of saying, well, if I win, that means that somebody else is losing, right? It's not really like that. Everybody gets their fair share chance, right? It's equal opportunity. Don't think of it as if you win, then somebody else loses. You know, your empathetic side is going to subconsciously give it back at some point. Got to get past that point. Remember, if you've done the work, then you're owed your fair share. Now, there's no trophies awarded, no participation trophies for this stuff based on how long you've been at this. Do you have 10 years of market experience or 1 year of market experience times 10? This is what I see from a lot of people. They bounce around so many times, the experience is not additive. So they've just been around for a while and they're getting salty, right? They're getting cynical about things because it's just not working for them. Edge is not automatically awarded by length of service. You have to learn to think differently. Okay, that's defining our edge for the market. Step 4, cruising along here. If you fail to plan, then plan on failing. Want to make a business of your trading? Better start planning. This is, a lot of people hear about this. Well, you got to make a business plan and a trading plan. And they say, yeah, okay, I sat down and I did that about 10 years ago and I put it up on my shelf. Okay. This needs to be something that you look at all the time. Your business plan is basically giving yourself permission to go make money, right? This is your love letter to your subconscious saying, we support you and we want you to do well. And it's to follow a business plan. If you're going to treat this like a business, you may as well set up a business plan. It doesn't have to be more than a page or two. It doesn't have to be, a 3-inch binder. So what is your plan? I plan to make money. Okay, thanks for playing. We'll see you soon, right? You're going to continue funding somebody else's accounts until you letter it out in detail in terms of what your business is. And then, of course, there's the trading plan. You should not be executing any strategy into a live market without a trading plan behind it. There's none of this sort of doing it by feel. You can't trade by the seat of your pants, because if you do that, you are trading with the herd. No question. You should have one trading plan for your one thing. Okay, step 5. We're getting near the end here. Iterate and improve. Nobody gets it right the first time. So what we have to do is we have to start off with our goals. And then to execute those goals into the market, we're going to translate them into a set of rules in which we're going to operate through the live market. At some point, we are going to terminate the trade and we're going to get some results. We're going to compare those results versus the goals and say, how are we doing? And if we can figure out why we're not doing as well as we want to, then we're going to make corrections. There's a reason why we put a steering wheel on a car. We're going to make corrections all the time. And then maybe we're going to revisit our goals. Maybe they're too aggressive. Maybe making 10% a day is a little too heavy because it's forcing us to trade too much of our account. And we may have to adjust our rules. So once we go through this cycle, we're going to put it back into the market, get some different results. And the way you want to think about this is almost like a steadily ascending spiral that's doing this. As you go through this strategy development cycle, you're going to eventually start to spiral higher and higher and higher in terms of performance, in terms of account balance, things like that. This is the only way it works. You're not going to instantly get it. It's going to take iteration. So think about all the other things that take iteration for you to be successful, like sports. Like how many shots has Tiger hit at the range? Or Justin Thomas, our newest PGA champion? How many shots does Stephen Curry need to make in practice to be able to be as accurate as he is? And these guys have been playing for decades now, and they still practice probably harder than anybody else. It's not just muscle memory, but they're also looking for small, noticeable improvements. This is their edge, their commitment. And so in trading, what you need to do is you've got to learn from every trade. So one of the things that I do is I build these kind of tracking sheets for everything that I do. And I learned this from a gentleman by the name of Brett Steenbarger, who's written a series of books, and he's really, really good at this. He's a performance coach for a futures trading firm in Chicago. And so he works with every single trader. Imagine how good you would be if you had a performance coach that worked with you every single day. You know, you'd cut through those stages pretty quickly, I think, using the right methodology. So this is something that I work with people on, is showing them how to set up these kinds of, with every course that we have one of these sheets here, basically setting up the rules for this, capturing the performance from it, and making suggestions for the next run through. What can we eliminate or do differently next time? And then keeping score is, I think, so important in terms of what you do. We keep score in sports. You know, what's the message that we send kids when we don't, you know, keep score and we give participation trophies? You know, we know what comes from that. So be a pro, keep score so you know if and how you're improving or what you need to work on next. Okay, so that's step 5, iterate and improve. That's actually a huge one. And there's so many people that instead of, I'm going to go back to this for a second. A lot of people think that iterating and improving and being a pro about this stuff is like you write your goals and then you put some rules and then you get some results. And if you don't like the results, the correction is to give up on this and just go learn about another strategy, right? And then you go through the same thing again. You go through the goals, you set up the rules, you don't like the results, you quit and you go over to some other strategy. This is the way everybody's doing it right now. So once you determine what your one thing is, you won't want to quit. You're going to have, and this is a Steenbarger thing again, you're going to have the rage to master. You're going to be obsessed with getting it right. And that's what I was. I was obsessed with getting that iron condor working on the SPX until I got it right. And this is what you got to do. Step 6, you got to build a trader's mindset. You'll find that all of this stuff, you can't just, okay, today I'm going to have a trader's mindset. It doesn't work that way. You have to earn the right to do that. And it's through all the other steps that I've talked about so far, builds that trader's mindset. You may hear about discipline. Well, you must be disciplined. Most people have no clue on how to be disciplined. They've never had to have any kind of discipline in their lives, other than maybe following some traffic rules. And all of a sudden we take this sort of sloppy, career that we've sort of navigated through without any real form of discipline, because most of us can just sort of get through life kind of bumbling through. And then we get into the markets and we realize, oh, you must be disciplined. And you don't really know what it means. Well, guess what? You get a chance to learn. So neuroscience is the first thing that you're going to learn about. This is neuro-linguistic programming. That's what NLP stands for. These are new fields that have seen tremendous leaps in progress lately, right? So there's a lot going on in this field. If you have results that don't make sense to you, this is because you're neglecting how your brain actually works. There's a conscious brain and there's a subconscious brain, or a limbic brain, which is responsible for probably 90 to 95% of your actions. And this is our subconscious brain. This is our intuition. This is why you stick a bag of Doritos in front of you on a diet and somehow you end up going through half the bag, right? This is what we all do. So what you focus on expands. The subconscious mind has no filter. It doesn't know how to handle this. So you sit down with yourself at the beginning of the day and say, today, I'm not going to allow any losing trades. No more of these losing trades. Okay, got it? Me? Yep, okay. And that's precisely what you'll get, is losing trades, because the subconscious mind has no filter and it's going to interpret those instructions to give you losing trades. That's why it can be so frustrating, right? Why do you do the crazy things that you do? It's your subconscious mind using the same rules and the same survival techniques that it learned to live in a cave, hundreds of thousands or millions of years ago, right? It's the fight or flight response. It's the adrenaline that we get. We default back to these old, stupid responses. This is what we call also the lizard brain, right? Where we have, it's all of a sudden you just feel your hackles up, and either you're going to duke it out or you're going to run away. And we have the same kind of results when we're faced with risk in a market, is we can't have that fight or flight response. We have to be cool. So if you want to get a piece of string across the table, you can either push it or pull it. If you push it, it's going to bunch up and it's not going to be a very clean experience. Learn to pull on that string by focusing on what you want and not what you don't want. You also have to retrain your subconscious. And this is what I wrote about Hacking the Holy Grail, the Amazon book here. It's the core processor of your most basic decisions. It's there to protect you. It's this inner voice who thinks that risk is bad, right? Risk is bad, but you can't reprogram it. I'd love to be reprogrammed. I'd love to have that hole in the back of my head. I could just jack that thing in like the Matrix and say, I know Kung Fu, or I know trading calendars, or whatever it is. You have to show it the way by doing the work and internalizing your one strategy. I keep coming back to the same concepts again and again. It's one strategy, internalizing it, iterations, doing the work. This is how it's done. Prove to your mind that your trading isn't harmful, and all of a sudden you'll find that your mind allows you to succeed. You've got to retrain your conscious mind, or your subconscious mind. And you can't do it through conscious actions. You've got to do it through iteration. You've got to slowly and patiently train your subconscious mind that you deserve to trade risk capital. Okay, so now we get into step 7. This is really interesting too. I've been exposed to this recently, and this is kind of the latest hot thing. I was fortunate enough, and this is maybe 3 years ago, to sit down with the author, James Clear, who lived down the street from me before he became a household name, and wrote this book called Atomic Habits, who's been on the New York Times bestseller list for the last 2.5 years now. And also, I think a lot of you people are out there understand who Scott Adams is. He's the creator of Dilbert. And he's also an interesting guy in his own right. And both of these guys will focus on goals versus systems. So a lot of people come up with goals and they end up just being wishes. Here's my goals. Everybody's told from day one, you got to write down your goals, but they never turn into a system. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So the key here is that if you've got a goal, then you've got to systematize it. Goals are for those that want to win once. Systems are for those that want to win repeatedly. Now, I'm not talking about system trading where you're letting a computer trade for you. That could be one way to do it. But a system is really creating a process for yourself, a repetitive process for yourself, day after day after day after day. You're making this into a business. Or Scott Adams also put it, goals are for losers, systems are for winners. So some of the things that he would do, like Scott Adams would say, is like, well, everybody knows that they need to be more physically active. But then what people find is that, well, I went to the gym and I didn't really like it. Okay. So his system would be, I want to do something every day physically that I really, really enjoy doing. So for him, it could be like playing tennis or, going on a hike or something like that. So finding ways to stay active, and it's a system for him, and he doesn't have to work on it. There's no inertia that has to be built up because it just automatically self-perpetuates. Whereas if you say to yourself, okay, today I'm going to, go down to the gym 7 days a week and I'm going to lift for 3 hours. And, it's going to take some massive, action to maintain that as a system. So there's different ways to do this. Goals versus systems. Really, the best thing you could do is, check out one of these books or get both of them because they're phenomenal books. And I think you'll be amazed at how well written they are. Identity. Decide the type of person or role that you want to be. Prove it to yourself with small wins. Every habit that you take is a vote for the type of person you want to be. So think about this. If you want to be a professional trader, if you want to quit your job and trade for a living, what would that person do? What would that person be doing in terms of waking up? What time would they wake up? What would they do in the mornings? What would they do during the days? What would they do in the evenings? How would they conduct themselves? How would they treat their business? Decide the type of person or role that you want to be. Prove it to yourself with small wins every single day. If you want to be a profitable trader, what would they do? How would they act? What habits would they display? Think about that. Or any other role that you're thinking of doing. The power of small wins cannot be discounted, right? Becoming a profitable trader is not something that happens in a day. It's not just a step function like, well, I sucked yesterday, but today I am now a profitable trader. It doesn't work like that. It works over time. Think about this. Small wins, the power of compounding is amazing. If I were to challenge you between today and tomorrow, okay, here's your challenge. Between now and tomorrow, in the next 24 hours, I want you to get 1% better at what you do. I want you to invest the time and the effort to get 1% better at the strategy that you trade. I think most people will come back to me and say, oh, Doc, no problem. It's done. Done deal. I can do that. Okay, so we come back tomorrow and say, all right, you've gotten 1% better at this. Now do it again and again and again every day. If you get 1% better every day at something over 365 days, you'll be almost 38 times better at something over the course of a year. However, if you get 1% worse every day, it'll only be 3%. So this is how the power of compounding, all you got to do is just show up every day. And this is one of James Clear's points in his book, is that where most people fail is that they give up after a couple of days. They start something and then they get bored, so they give up and they start working on something else. We just have these lives of these little unfinished piles of ambition laying around everywhere. But if you're able to just get 1% better every day, this is the key towards things. This is called the aggregation of marginal gains. A marginal gain is something that you're going to experience between today and tomorrow. And it's this aggregation, this compounding of marginal gains. And something else that's really cool about this is that the human mind craves steady progress, and even small wins count to keep you motivated. How motivated are you if you lose money every single day? Not very. And this is why people quit and they look for a different strategy all the time, constantly. Okay, so build the right habits. That's step 7. Okay, so let's summarize here. And Dave, I'm probably going to be done here in the next few minutes. So I get ready to tap dance a little bit. So let's summarize here the steps here. Step one, learn to use risk as a tool and not as something to fear. Think differently about risk. Step two, don't be a jack of all trades and a master of none. If you're working on several things at once, pick one of them and pick the one that makes you obsessed to learn it. Focus on your one thing. If you're having trouble becoming profitable, ditch everything else, pick one thing and determine to master it. Define your edge. Just because you set up a trade based on a statistical or technical setup does not mean that you hold a trading edge. So you have a 68.2% probability of winning a specific trade. Okay, that means that over time, you'll win 68.2% of those, given enough iterations, and you're going to lose, 31.8% of them. And the person that's going to win is going to be the broker due to commissions. So that's not enough of an edge. Define what your edge is against the current character and action of the chosen market. It changes. It matters. Trading a bear market is very different from trading a primary bull. Step four, create your plan. Create a business plan that's going to send an important message to your subconscious mind that you're taking this seriously and you deserve to win. From there, create a trading plan for every strategy that you put into play in the market. Step five, treat your trading like an athletic pursuit. Repetition is the mother of skill. Iterate and improve. Keep repeating something until it's second nature and you've iterated the errors away. This is where the magic is. It's really this simple. Most people don't iterate and improve because they don't start with the right strategy to begin with, and they get bored, they get discouraged. Find your one thing. Step six, build a trader's mindset. They expect to win because they've done the work. Confidence comes with iteration and the deep work that comes with it. And then finally, step seven, build the right habits. Goals are nothing more than wishes if they're not reinforced with the correct habits. Look to create a system for everything that you care about, setting up for long-term success. Remember that one phrase. Goals are for those that want to win once. Habits are for those that want to win repeatedly. Set up the right habits. Okay, so that is it. And really what I want to talk to you about next is I don't want to sell you anything today. I just want you to know about ReadySet.trade. So if you go out to ReadySet.trade, you can join us out there. You'll see, if you just go to that website, you'll see the data feed. It almost looks like the news feed, almost looks like a Facebook page. It's a very friendly place to go. It's free. So just go ahead and join us. In fact, what I've got is, let me just bring down a browser here with a login. So you can see what, this is the free news feed that's out there. Some of the things that you'll see is we're actually going to show like scan alerts that are in here. And we explain what those are. So you get scan alerts that come in. This is even in the free service, as well as you've got chat windows that are out here that you can chat with other people on, even in the free service. There's also a series of courses that are out there. And we've got these 10 steps to 10X. So we call this the 10X tribe because we want people to be operating at a level that's 10 times more than where they are today. So how to get started trading. These are all courses that you can sign up for right now for free. And then there are going to be some for a cost, which is either going to be, you can just buy the course as a discrete package, or you can sign up for our subscription service, which starts at $63.99 a month. So this is what the site looks like. I invite you to go over there. Again, it's ReadySet.trade will get you there. And then the sign up is free. We don't pound you. We don't spam you guys. We don't do anything like that. We treat people with respect. We're just building a trading community that we want people to be able to get better at. And this is what we've done. This is what we do. This is the only thing that we do. So with that, Dave, that's all I've got for today. And I will take any questions for the next couple of minutes if there is any. Otherwise, there we go.
All right, thanks, Doc. Yeah, we got a few minutes here. Does anyone have any questions for Doc? We have almost 100 people in the room. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can. So Stu is saying Brett Steenbarger also works with S&B Capital. Yeah, I've done presentations with S&B. Brett's a really top-notch guy. What are some of your services for the monthly subscription? We do, well, first of all, I do a daily trading room. So every day I'm on from like 9:20 until maybe 10:10 in the morning, Eastern time. So we trade the open. And these days we're looking for shorter term trades. We don't want to take a whole lot of overnight risk, but we're trading all kinds of different strategies, such as cash secured puts, covered calls. We're using calendar spreads, iron condors, all kinds of different trading strategies for the equity markets. And we match our approach to what the market's actually showing at the time. Yeah, for step 1, 2, and 3, there's no need to, let's see, where did my window go? So these, step 0, step 1, step 2, this is free. You can get right in today and just all you got to do is sign up and you can get into the course for free. We have some other free courses like the wheel income strategy. If you're ever curious about what the wheel is, that's free for a new user. And as we get into complexity here, some of these are going to cost a little bit of money. So either everything comes, if you sign up for a subscription, everything comes with it. It's like a Netflix account, right? So probably the most powerful one that we have is the 0 DTE. It's kind of our specialty, is the 0-day options. And is one of the classes that I teach quite often. So we do a lot of that, a lot of work using 0 DTE options. Let's see. How did you go about focusing on the SPY iron condors? At the time, it was the SPX because the SPY was really pretty immature. It had just been released, and it was back then, quite honestly. Let's see, who's asking at BT? Because I looked at the different charts. The first thing I was going to do in determining my one thing was I wanted to start with a chart and an option chain that was second to none. And there's really no better chart that's out there than the S&P 500. And I still believe that to this day. It's the best chart that's out there in terms of technical analysis and in terms of the options opportunities. You could literally trade the S&P 500, and many people do, as their own singular chart and instrument, right? So that's it. So to me, the S&P 500 was the place to start. And then it was a matter of, okay, what strategy am I going to use? And at that time, and this was back in 2004, markets were very quiet and choppy back then. And the iron condor was a clear choice. Now, when I ran into the bear market, certainly there were challenges with that, and I had to adapt with that. But that was kind of the thinking at the time. And it's going to be different for every time that's out there. So right now is maybe not the greatest time to trade the iron condor. There's probably other ways to minimize your risk in today's environment. Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate that comment. Robert is asking, do you do much long-term trading and investing, or maybe waiting for market to stabilize? We do some. Before we trade any long stock, we get into it through cash secured puts. So we sell out of the money puts and lower our cost basis before we'll take assignment on that. And that's just the way that we do it. So options are the key to everything. However, we'll occasionally play with stock from time to time. But usually, the stock, I'm looking to unload it as soon as I get into it. So I'm more of a short-term thing. Okay, everybody, that's all I got. I appreciate your time, your attention. Either check out the books or check out the website, and I look forward to interacting with you at some point in the future. Take care, everybody. Have a great Wednesday.
All right, thanks, Doc. Yeah, great presentation. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, David. We'll catch you next time.
All right. Yeah. So Doc was our 6th presentation for today, and we have 4 more to go. So Samantha is up next. I don't see her in the room yet, but should be here any minute. So just a reminder, in case you didn't hear this earlier, I am recording each of the presentations individually, and I'm working on getting these processed here while we do the event. And all of those will be posted onto the main TimingResearch.com homepage. There's a post there for today's event that will become the archive later tonight when I start posting the videos. Also, if you simply search for Timing Research on YouTube or your favorite podcast app, you can subscribe and get the updates that way as well. Also, if you have any feedback or questions or comments or anything about today's event, you can simply reply to any Timing Research email that comes directly to me. Also, there's a contact form on the Timing Research site that comes directly to me as well. So Samantha, if you're in the room, let me know in the chat. But otherwise, we're going to take a short break here and be back in 2 to 3 minutes with Samantha Leduc of LeducTrading.com. Okay, Samantha, is that you?
I'm here.
Okay. It just says Samantha, not your last name. So
Oh,
I'm hoping I'm
Leduc.
upgrading the right person. But
Let's see if I can bring this in a little bit closer.
yeah. Okay. And you should be able to share your screen now and get set up.
I was just gonna do a chat. Okay, let's see if I have.
Oh, okay.
So let's see if I've got. Yeah, I can share my screen a little bit, but right now it wasn't urgent.
Oh, okay. Can you share like, you know, just well anything basically? So the
Yeah, video.
yeah. So
How about?
does if there's nothing being shown
on.
and on the recording, it shows up as a black screen. So.
Why doesn't it show me?
Oh, the camera?
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
start my video. Let's see if that works.
Yeah.
All right, you need to let me show my video.
Let's
See it again.
Yeah, try it again.
Can we push? There
Okay.
it is.
That's working now. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Start video. Said not gonna happen.
Okay.
Hold on.
All right.
I mean, where's Tiffany? There she is.
Okay. And you're ready to start now?
Sure.
Okay. All right. I'm going to start my recording and then you can start your presentation.
Okay.
And I am recording now.